What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash, and we are back to rank another position group in the National Football League, giving you our top 10 offensive tackles entering the 2025 season. I'm interested to see how these lists all played out, but before we get into it, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing on this glorious, beautiful Wednesday evening?
I'm doing all right. I don't got too much to report, unfortunately.
That's okay. I forgive you. Theo, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I've been working a lot at the library, and I got a library card. And
What are you reading?
I'm reading a book on a specific kind of psychology, ecological psychology. That's been interesting to me recently. The idea that there's not really this intermediate mental process between when you see something and you actually acting on it. Like, there's a lot of talk about, if someone throws a ball, you're doing like mental math in your head and making a prediction of like where it's going to be, and then you kind of program that in, and then your body carries out that program. Like, that idea being wrong, and the fact that there is no real intermediate calculations that are going on. You're just reacting. You're coupled to the movement coming at you, and you're just fitting it, basically. I think that's kind of an interesting concept. So I got a book on that. And I also got a cookbook.
Oh.
What are you cooking up?
I want to cook a burger, but I need a Dutch oven, which I don't have. So according to this
Dutch
cookbook,
oven to cook a burger?
that's what this cookbook says is the best burger. So I don't know if I'll be doing that, but I might use all the seasoning and stuff.
I'm pretty sure you could just do that on like the stove, man.
They want me to deep fry it in a Dutch oven.
This feels.
It might be doing too much.
It's a woke burger.
It might be woke burger. I don't know. Deep frying something in oil can't be woke.
I guess that's true. Well, if you need special burger equipment past like a stove or a grill, that's when we start to get into woke burger territory.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, dude. I know this. I'm right about this.
He's right about
That's
this.
fair.
He knows. Yeah, it's gonna be some like turkey meat burger, and it's gonna be deep fried, and it has to be in like avocado oil. It can't be in like just
Well, any seed oil would be perfect for this.
for a woke burger of an impossible burger in seed oil, and you need a Dutch oven for it. That's the only burger I'll eat. Take that,
Real.
Drumpf. You won't be happy to hear about that. It seems to be a pretty normal, non-woke burger.
non-woke, medium rare.
Yeah, it's just a normal burger that takes a long time to make, I guess.
Fair enough.
There is some news we have to get into.
Yeah, what happened?
Frank Ragnow.
Oh yes, we didn't talk about that because it happened. It's happened in between our two episodes here. That's got to be the craziest news of the offseason by a pretty wide margin, right?
Yeah. On TikTok, I called it the only player movement event that could be considered league altering. I think some of the coach movement, maybe you could consider that, but I think Ragnow leaving the Lions is probably the single biggest domino.
Movement was expected,
Yeah, right.
Like we can say, like, yeah, the Lions losing both their coordinators, insane, right? Tough to deal with, but sort of saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Losing Ragnow after the draft, dude. Like, what? How are you supposed to deal with that? Like we were talking in our group chat. It's gonna be like Ratledge having to really step up as a rookie. Some really big shoes to fill. So I don't know how they're gonna deal with it. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a chance that they're going to be able to sort of check off the boxes a little bit on the interior offensive line. It's like, okay, we're not like a total disaster at any one of these positions, but are they going to be able to like keep up the dominant run game without Ragnow, or is Goff going to be as solid behind an interior offensive line that's just okay rather than really, really great? Those are some serious questions. And on top of that, this is a team that's lost both of their starting coordinators as well. So there's a lot for them to make up in terms of like overall development and draft improvement, because I think they've lost a lot this offseason. When it was just the coordinators, I was feeling okay about them. I thought their roster was so dominant. Now, it's not like I don't think they can win the NFC North or anything, but now I'm really questioning if I'm going to pick them to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking in the chat, BCC chat, which you guys should join, by the way. And the link for that should be in the description. I think it's just stayhot.chat. But we were like, how comfortable are you with the Lions, like 10.5 win total line? It's a little like I wouldn't guarantee that they hit that over at all.
No, certainly not. I mean, you've taken a bunch of Jenga pieces out of this tower. I mean, Ragnow's a huge piece of it. Johnson's a huge piece of it. And Quinn, he's a huge piece of it. So they're kind of in this suspended state where we don't see if it's collapsed or not until week 1. But like, yeah, man, those are huge, huge pieces for a team that really didn't have the greatest offensive line last year, even with Ragnow. I mean, they were 15th in pressure rate, very middle of the pack, not quite as good of a pass protecting unit as you might think. And now maybe their best offensive lineman is gone. Like Sewell has that reputation on the Lions, and he's the young stud, right?
Yeah.
But Ragnow took on, I think, more difficult assignments. Like Ragnow was solo so much for a center, and so much guard help flowed to both tackles, and the depth of the pocket was still solid. Now, the good news is I don't think Sewell needs all that help probably, and if he kind of takes on more of a difficult role now with some of the pass protection plans, I think he can handle it. I think he had some training wheels on his sets that he probably didn't always need because Ragnow was so good at center. And if it's, Mahogany and Ratledge who are your center guard combination, like could they just always be helping each other, and then Glasgow's good and Sewell's good and Decker is good? I can see them kind of finagling an offensive line that's still fine, but I mean, what if those two young players are just bad, right? Like what if Ratledge and Mahogany just don't really look that good without Ragnow there to kind of cover up some of the warts? And they go from 15th in pressure rate to 23rd, and Goff isn't that good under pressure, right? And the whole offense starts to fall apart, and they're not as crafty in big moments as they were without Ben Johnson there, and the rest of the division is really good. Like it's totally fair to have reservations about the Lions. I'm definitely reconsidering what I thought was a tier 1 Super Bowl contender. I'm reconsidering having them even win the division when Ben Johnson now has, Joe Tooney, who could play center and be a great one, and Caleb Williams, and, the Packers are moving. Elton Jenkins to center, and he could be an absolutely fantastic one. And the Vikings added a center this offseason, and Will Fries. Like, man, what should have been the best offensive line in the division is now the worst. Like, it's not impossible to think.
They still have Sewell, who's fantastic. I mean, it is just a brutal schedule, and when you consider all the things that have kind of gone against them this offseason, it's like, yeah, they are. I mean, they play their own division, right, where they play the Bears, Packers, and Vikings twice, and those none of those teams are like pushovers. Then you've got the AFC North, you've got the Chiefs, you've got the Buccaneers, you've got the Rams, you've got the NFC East. It's just, what are you supposed to do? It's almost as bad as the Giants, except the Lions are still a good team. But to cover 10.5 wins is just like, that's going to be such a tall task. And to win their division again, I think it's going to be really tough this year.
I think they'll have to have a really elite defense, like, to win the Super Bowl at this point. I think the offense has a chance to continue to be fine, right? Like, okay, we've reshuffled the line. Things are going okay, right? Maybe we're not the best offense in the league or top 3, but we're 10th, 11th, 12th. And there's a chance that this defense could be pretty peak, right? Like, I think Jack Campbell's one of the league's best linebackers. If you get Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil back at some point, at least by the playoffs, right? They're playing really well. Brian Branch.
Well, Hutch has looked pretty healthy so far. So
yeah, it seems like he's kind of
back week 1.
It seems like he's on a good track to come back. Their safeties are obviously fantastic. They brought in DJ Reed. So if we're talking about this like a dominant defense in January of next year, the offense should be good enough to win if you've got that. But if the defense doesn't take that step or continue what they were for a lot of the regular season last year into the playoffs, I don't think they can win the Super Bowl without Ragnow in the year after his retirement. But
yeah, I guess the positive spin is I would rather be them right now than them when they were in the playoffs so horribly injured on defense, right?
Yeah.
I still think there's a way for them to take a step up from where they were when they actually got booted out of, the title race. They need something to break their way. Like if Arnold could take a big step or if Hutchinson could come back and be all right. They've got to get something going. Ratledge or Tyleek Williams being like impact players out the gate. Like that's what they need. They're not in an unrecoverable spot. It's not completely over. Even if things continue to go south from here and this is it, it won't be because there was nothing they could do after they left Ragnow. But they've got to hit on another move. You don't get to just like collect some guys and then stay good forever. So I think it's a tough spot to be in, but they can work out of it.
I also don't know why I called Tooney a center for the Bears. They signed Dahlman. He could play play center and be the. I did. I said, well, Ben Johnson might be paired with an elite center. But he'll be paired with an elite guard. He could be an elite center, though. He could be an elite.
Yeah, it's because Tooney moved outside for Kansas City, so it's just like he's a position versatile guy. And
yeah. But yeah, he won't be playing center for the Bears. But that's okay because you can start to squint and see how that offensive line could kind of be powered up by one of the interior players, much like how the Lions' offensive line was powered up by Ragnow. But anyway, yeah, big loss. I thought he was my sleeper to win Protector of the Year.
Yeah, I know.
And now that's dashed. But there are plenty of other candidates to win Protector of the Year, and we might talk about a few of them today.
We might. But before we get into that, I do want to, of course, shout out our good friends at Chat BCC. I brought them up earlier, a group chat that we've started. And, it's just this chat platform where we just hang out with friends of the show, you guys, and, you can chat in the member chat. And sometimes we'll reply to stuff and we'll be in there pretty much every single day. We started it on Monday and we already have over 100 of you in there. So super excited about that. We, of course, got the NBA Finals starting the day that this episode's coming out, so you can definitely expect Matt to be talking about it in there. But the idea is pretty simple. They gave us this group chat to be reacting in real time to all stuff sports and talk about things other than sports, whether it be Star Wars or fruits or whatever else we want to talk about. So make sure you go to stayhot.chat and join what is soon to be the greatest group chat in the history of sports. Some are saying
already the greatest.
The greatest group chat in the history of sports. But let's get into
someone asked on that group chat. Nate asked, "I'm studying for the MSAT this summer. Can you guys make a new series where every week you cover a new topic that might be on the exam?" So, stay tuned in this episode for information that will get you into medical school.
We got you at the end.
we got you.
This is definitely the group you want to.
How would you cure Frank Ragnow's fractured everything?
It is very interesting that Ragnow is like kind of the polar opposite of Tua as far as like thought process with continuing football.
Yeah. Well, there's a number. One is continuing and the other isn't. There is definitely a number of guys who have bowed out early. I get it though. I don't blame them.
I mean, it is a sad going away. Like I thought I I keep telling myself I can do it, but I can't.
Yeah.
And that's
very.
That's tough.
Very.
I mean, he played through a fractured throat like a couple of years ago, and he's played through horrendous lower body injuries like basically the whole time. I mean, and is still the most dominant center.
That's what I'm saying. Like the best center in the league just retires before 30.
What are the Lions doing, man? We should talk about maybe they shouldn't even get a chance to compete.
Is Dan Campbell too hard on his players? Is that the take?
Maybe Detroit doesn't need a franchise, you know? Maybe it can just be 3 teams in the NFC North, since the Lions want to just wear out greatness every generation.
True.
We got to start asking the tough questions.
Actually, that is kind of interesting. Barry Sanders was like, I just don't really like playing football anymore after he gets bounced from the playoffs. Calvin Johnson, I just don't really feel like playing anymore. Now Frank Ragnow.
Unfortunately, the Dolphins got ranked as an A+ organization on that organizational.
It's like 85 and beautiful every day of the week, and there's no state income tax.
So that Tua will stick around because the cafeteria is too good. Detroit,
they get fresh crab like right outside, dude. Like, what do you?
Yeah, they got tuna.
But let's get into our top 10 tackle rankings here. Do you want to start top or bottom?
Let's start bottom. And is there anybody that got listed?
Honorable mentions, yeah. There's 2. One by each you and Matt. Theo, yours was Mr. Brown. Sadly, not a Cleveland Brown.
Or Orlando Brown. It's Spencer Brown.
I know. That's the
Bills.
I thought that was kind of a crazy pick, but I don't hate you putting the Bills have a very good offensive line, so like I definitely don't hate you putting that on there. But I saw that, I was like, did he mean to do that?
I did mean to do that with Spencer Brown. He's become a really scary player. I had him in my number 10 spot.
Yeah.
He's one of the most athletic big guys in the league on either side of the trenches, and started out as kind of a liability. They kept him on the field, and now he's grown into a really, really good tackle. Completely devastating run blocker, can cross your face and seal you off wide zone, can just straight up displace you at the line of scrimmage. He's got some just nasty blocks where he blows up the defensive tackle along with that Osiris Torrance, and then can make some really difficult connections with linebackers at the second level and just bury those guys. And he's got a snatch trap that's good, where someone's trying to long arm him, right, or deliver some sort of power move, and he knocks the hands down. He can just lock you up in a variety of different ways. He's not just big and strong. He's got some technical aspect to his game as well. And yeah, he has to block for Josh Allen, who's always rolling out to his right behind Spencer Brown and stressing him out a little bit, I'm sure. But Brown takes care of the assignment, and yeah, the athleticism is so potent that I thought, yeah, this is a top 10 guy after last year.
Oh yeah, man. And then Matt had Laramie Tunsil at the number 8 spot, and that bumped him a little bit higher than Spencer Brown.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy that he's not on the list. He's not like a super crazy run blocker like a lot of these other guys are, and the penalties are obviously like they're not the end of the world or anything. But I mean, when we're splitting hairs maybe and talking about, the difference in like consistency between these guys, it's fair. But I still think he's one of the best in pass pro. He's still super smooth, moves well. He's very good with his hands. So I thought, to me, that made up for it. But if it doesn't to you guys, it's not like I can't see the case here. So I'm actually fine with him being an honorable mention.
Yeah, just 18 penalties last year is tough to stomach. God. Just a lack of like focus.
I didn't realize it was
from
that
him.
Many.
He's just
he's chilling.
But maybe, the numbers. What's up?
I was just gonna say, maybe you wouldn't be that locked in if you were on the Texans' offensive line. He's probably like, it doesn't matter anyway.
It doesn't matter anyway.
It doesn't matter.
Might as well get the jump on it. He was frustrating to watch because, like, on so many plays, like, you can't even tell what his assignment is or if he's doing a good job because, like, the interior has been blown up and Stroud has moved up off of his spot. So like the angle that the edge rusher has to Stroud is now not what Tunsil was expecting. And like the amount of like actual pure straight drop back pass protection reps that you can really evaluate Tunsil on, where like Stroud is where he expects him to be and he's up against a good edge rusher. Like those kind of one-on-one battles were kind of few and far between last year. So I could definitely see Tunsil re-entering the top 10 in a different situation in Washington. But after last year, all the penalties and the run blocking, and it wasn't his most consistent pass protecting year either, even in those situations where things were going according to plan. So we'll see what the future holds for him. I could definitely see him bouncing back.
Spencer Brown also had 16 penalties last year.
Yeah, but his was because of his nasty demeanor.
Oh, okay. There's a difference.
It's probably because of...
It's not his fault.
Yeah, well, that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair shout out for Brown.
Will there be a not his fault offensive tackle, Theo?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe it is Tunsil, but I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Ask me again at the end of the episode.
Yeah, we'll readdress. But at our number 10 spot, the consensus stay hot, which, by the way, I didn't mention this before. We each put together a top 10 list, and then we use like a ranked choice voting format to get the consensus list. Our consensus number 10 offensive tackle is Andrew Thomas, which I felt like was pretty fair. We all had him around this spot. What were your guys' justification for putting him here?
Well, he could be a lot higher, but he's missed so many games.
Right. I mean, he's got, I like him because it's just so hard to get into his frame. He's obviously got like crazy long arms, and he times his punches like super well too. So I think a lot of the times, some of the dudes who are maybe a little bit less gifted in terms of arm length have like a really tough time against him. And it's especially true because I think he does a good well like dealing with guys who cross his face. So particularly there's just a type of edge rusher where I'm honestly thinking of like Mike Green. Obviously there's many of them. But we were just got a draft season, so that's who I'm thinking of, where it's like the arms are shorter, but they're so fast and they can challenge you so much around the edge, and then they have enough of a bag to like beat you inside too. And that's kind of what their game is built around. Thomas does a really good job dealing with those guys. I think he's also pretty good as a mover. He's pretty good in the run game as well. I mean, he can get out and make big blocks. I feel like he's not quite as much of a, I don't know, maybe he's not quite as much of a true like Penei Sewell type of mauler. And I think there's a number of guys on this list who I think are good run blockers, but maybe do it in a little bit different way. It's more about their ability to reach blocks rather than it is about like blowing guys up. And maybe blowing guys up can be overrated in the sense that like you can still make a good block and create a hole, and the extra, step or two push that you get isn't always the most important if the hole is there. But I don't know. This is all to say I think Andrew Thomas is a very good player, and I think he's on the list, and I agree.
Yeah.
He could be higher if he was healthier.
There's another player we'll get to who could also be higher if they were healthier, that we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah. There was a time when Lane Johnson was he could be higher if he was healthier guy. Like a few years ago when he's like 30, 31, he missed a ton of games in a row and he's getting older, and it would have been fair to keep him off your top 10 because of those things. But then of course time goes on and he should be in everyone's top 10 now. So with Thomas, I'm hoping that it's kind of the same thing where this is kind of like just a two-year thing, and he recovers from his foot surgery and has a healthy season next year and dominates, because he can. I mean, he had a game last year before he got hurt against Myles Garrett, and it's probably the least amount of like chip help anyone's had against Myles Garrett in recent seasons. Like they were just like, go out there and see what you can do, man. Like it was one-on-one a lot. And I think the thing that kind of blows my mind about Andrew Thomas is, like, obviously when you're going up against a guy like Myles Garrett, you're going to get kind of blown up at the point of attack. Yeah. But he's able to kind of come back down and land and distribute his weight really evenly and like kind of instantly re-brace himself with every step. So he can kind of with every step, he's kind of refitting his form and getting to those optimal strong positions to make the block, even when he's under a lot of strain or getting knocked back initially. So, yeah, the 97th percentile arm length, like you mentioned, Matt, and the way he punches, plus that kind of lower body weight distribution makes him a really special tackle. He just needs to stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. And on our number 9 spot, we have the entering his second year, Joe Alt, who, Matt, you left off of your list. Theo and I had him, I think, at the 7th spot. And I thought he absolutely deserved to be on this list. I mean, to come out of college as this like really highly touted, one of the best tackle prospects we've seen in quite some time, and to go out there and basically just be this super reliable tackle opposite of Slater day one and be that way pretty much the whole season, I felt it was a no-brainer to put him on this list in some capacity.
Yeah, the Chargers got proven right taking Alt and going receiver in the second round. That's going to be a draft that I think keeps them in the playoffs for a long time. Alt, yeah, I think he should be top 10. I mean, looking at what they were doing last year, there are 2 top 10 tackles on this team, right? Slater is really good. I assume he'll be on this list.
There's another team that we'll get to that has 2 top 10 tackles.
Yeah. Slater's really good, but then you look at Alt, and there are some ways in which he's better. Like I think he's more athletic. Like he's kind of broader and kind of bigger, and he's still got all that like gather all your momentum in one step and redirect in one piece type of athleticism. Where like even if he's in a compromising position, like maybe someone's taking him upfield and is now like countering inside, right? Alt can match that kind of movement, even if he's like initially in a scary spot. So to be as big as he is and as low as he is and change directions like he does, he's pretty scary to go against. And he's got a lot of lateral agility where he can take a big first step and cross people's faces in the run game. Like he is what he was billed as, man. Like he's going to be really, really good, and I think make all pros in his career.
He's super special.
Yeah, I don't hate his placement on here. He was somebody who I was considering. I just ranked a couple of guys ahead of him, I guess. I don't think his like I don't know. I don't know if he's like the craziest guy in the run game either. And I guess I respected Tunsil a little bit more in terms of like the pass pro, but it's pretty close. And Alt is probably a guy where if you're wrong now, you'll be right eventually. So I'm not as inclined to push back on either of those two moves. And I guess he doesn't get penalized nearly as much as Tunsil. So
yeah, I think it's fair to some extent to be like, well, it's only 1 year, you know, like there's definitely like even Tunsil, like even with the penalties, it's fair to say like he's more established. He's been doing it a little bit.
You know, that's interesting. I wonder if I'm trying to think off the top of my head, is there any example of like a rookie tackle coming in being good year one and then sort of falling off? Because I feel like maybe I'm making this up, but I feel like that happens with other positions sometimes,
but not
certainly
really with offensive line,
right?
It happened with Jack Conklin. He was first team All Pro as a rookie in 2016, and then Tennessee didn't pick up his 5th year option. And then he went to Cleveland and was first team All Pro his first year there.
To happen with Alt, of course.
Yeah. But that is Conklin's an example where he's first team All Pro, and then
Conklin was more because of injury than like he was bad.
Yeah, I think so.
He missed. I don't know. He missed 7. Well, here's the thing. He missed 7 games his first 4 years. That's really not that big of an injury issue. Then he left and made first team All Pro again. And then he hasn't even made like a Pro Bowl or.
Yeah, he's a first year merchant. He's a first year merchant.
He's a first year merchant. He only played 7 games in 2021 with Cleveland. He only played 1 game in 2023, and he missed looks like 5 games last season.
He was 20.
I'm talking about Tennessee though. He was 16.
Oh yeah, in Tennessee he was. Yeah,
he did miss a lot of games in his third year, but his second year it was 16 games again, and he didn't even make the Pro Bowl after being a first-team All-Pro rookie.
So maybe Conklin is an example, but outside of that, yeah, I can't really think of anyone off the top of my head who's been a super special offensive lineman that then kind of fell off. I mean, maybe you would say DeJuan Jones.
No,
but he was like a 5th round pick that was like just bad at dealing with speed rushers the whole time.
maybe like Mekhi Becton, but that was definitely an injury thing. I mean, he didn't play for 2 seasons basically after his rookie year. So, if all can stay healthy, he'll be all pro. I think. I'm glad he's in the top 10. He was money last year. He's got this punch. His punch kills me, where he just kind of holds his hands out,
Right.
and like makes people run into them. And you'd think that you could just like swipe the hands away, but for some reason, like no one can, because he'll just like take them away and then just do the same thing again. Like it's such kind of a basic approach compared to like some of the other tackles that are out there. Even Slater, who's a very different style at left tackle. Like Alta's just like kind of standing there at the ready, and eventually you're gonna have to run into him. And once you do that, it's just over. It's kind of funny.
At our number 8 spot, we have Christian Darrisaw. Shout out.
Beast mode.
I like Darrisaw a lot. He's somebody who plays very, very low. I feel like that's the number one thing that I recognize about his style. He might be the lowest of anybody on our list, and let's hot take a fight. He's the lowest tackle in the league, if not all time.
He is the lowest tackle of
and
all
we're
time.
counting like the 5'3" tackles that played in the 1940s. Guys, it's that crazy.
I did see a lot of people compare Kelvin Banks to Darrisaw because they both kind of play this at this low pad level. So I don't hate that.
He can't help but play low because he has the lowest waist ever. Like he's like 90% torso and 10% legs.
I feel him.
Do you guys know? Did you guys ever watch Total Drama Island?
Yes.
Do you know
Are you
Owen?
talking about? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He has the
Exactly
exact
where you
same
were
body
going.
type as Owen from Total Drama Island. Like it's just a square
my
body
God.
and like 2 little tiny legs.
But he's a tank, man. He's a
He is, and that's not a bad thing. You want to be the low man. You want to have broad shoulders, and I think Darrisaw is the absolute meanest tackle if you're trying to go around the outside. I feel like that's his kind of specialty, is taking away anybody who's trying to rush around the arc. Like he will straight up take you and throw you upfield, like pancake on pancake when you are trying to bend. It's his high-end film in those situations is as good as anybody in the league. In really a ton of different situations, his high-end stuff is great. Like he had that stunt pickup versus the Lions where he totally shoved a guy like into the interior and then turned his back to the defensive line, like looped around. And then by the time he was facing the right way again, he was in front of the looper coming around, right? Like that play kind of went viral. And anytime you can go viral as an offensive lineman, you know that you've done something really good.
It's true.
I do think sometimes he can overset a little bit. Maybe he's hunting those kind of edge hunters and can give up the inside a little bit more than I'd like to see. And he's coming off the torn ACL, but he's super powerful and an all around total beast and someone who can survive against the top guys. He had a really famous game against Nick Bosa that was good and didn't allow any production. So
Yeah, that was the 1 of 40 reps, 1 stat. No,
yeah, and I think Bosa had a little bit of a better, like it wasn't all like he just wasn't on Darrisaw the entire game. Like the stats kind of were making it seem, but it did go to show that Darrisaw can like have good reps against Nick Bosa, who's a top 3 edge, definitely. So, yeah.
Well, that brings us to number 7, who is the next guy that I think, if he were healthy, could at any given year be number 1 on this list, and that is Trent Williams. It is probably the freakiest athlete of any tackle I can think of. I mean, in terms of like pure get downhill speed in the run game and just the power to maul people, I don't know how many guys really stand up to Trent Williams in that category. And if he can stay healthy, he's as good as anyone on this list. No
Do you
doubt.
think he's still that?
Dude, here's the thing. We'll see. We'll see when he gets back. I mean, he's supposedly healthy and at OTAs, right?
It's good.
So we'll have to see how he looks. But you're right. He's had so many injuries, and he's getting older. But every time he's out there, man, I don't know. He just keeps winning. So until I see him like truly be bad, I don't know if I'm willing to say that he's like fallen off the cliff yet. But the injuries need, like, he's got to stay healthy. Like it's getting bad for him in that area.
Well, Theo, you didn't have him on your list unless I'm mistaken. No, I have to say, I definitely have some concerns in terms of, like, I think he let up a pretty decent number of pressures for guys on this list last year. But I do think the athleticism still is there for him. Maybe not quite where it was 2 years ago, but is there anybody who I think can, like, get out faster and reach and seal somebody off on this list? I'm still not sure. There's a couple of guys who are great at it, but he's still next level, and kind of a special weapon for that. And I totally agree. It doesn't come with, like, well, he can do that because he's so light. No, he's got great power to him. I don't know if I would say necessarily the best power on this list, but not far from it. It's also just not easy. I always feel like, you know, going out there and, like, reaching and sealing and making plays at the second level, it takes a lot of speed and size that's hard to get, but it also takes a lot of skill. It's tough to react and change your angles at that size so quickly as to be able to do it. So I still think he's a top 10 tackle, but also, I mean, he's what, 37?
He'll be
36?
37. Yeah, he'll be 37.
Wow,
So, I mean, we're
thought
at the
Leighton
age
Johnson was
where
older than him. That's crazy.
we're at the age where he could like have a down season and be off of this list, but I'm not going to project that necessarily until I see it. I agree, Blaiden.
Yeah.
I think he's still a very high-end run blocker. He only blew a run block on 0.8% of his reps, according to Sports Info Solutions, which would be the lowest rate that they had ever tracked for him last year, obviously in a smaller sample size, but he was still out there a decent amount. Right, he played 10 games, so it's not like it was nothing. And as far as consistency with his run blocks, like, potentially the most consistent season of his career. But I do think I've seen some slippage from him in pass protection, to the point where I'd say he's not that. He's still a good tackle, but he's not the best like he used to be. I think the fluidness, redirecting, like I was talking about with Joe Alt, like off one step, like if you're kind of in a situation where you're losing, you can, like, kind of regather yourself and get your hips in front of somebody and continue to block them. I think he kind of struggles to do that. I don't think his anchor is quite as crazy as it used to be.
Now, the anchor, I agree with. I thought there were a couple of times, and the play right now is slipping me, but I had one while I was watching where I was like, that was not a great loss. But it does happen. I think Jordan Mailata, I think Jared Verse got him really bad, and he's somebody whose anchor I consider to be really good. Is that play where Verse blew him up?
Leveled a lot of ones, yeah.
So it does happen, but I don't disagree. And there were a number of times where it's like, maybe this didn't end up actually completely affecting the play, or, like, became something so major that you remembered or you saw a highlight of it on Twitter, but it's like that closed in on you a little bit more than it should.
Exactly.
And if that continues to go that way, more and more of those will. So I don't think that's a bad point at all.
Yeah, definitely the anchor, when guys touch him, right? There's a little bit more backwards movement than there used to be, for sure. I still think he's got probably the most dangerous punch in the league. Like, it's like a bullet that hits you. There's no fanciness to it whatsoever. It's just two tight hands that like the mantis shrimp, right? What's that crustacean that, like, has the?
I think you got it.
Yeah. That's what it is with Williams. It's just like an absolutely stunning blow. So he's still got that power with his upper body, but the power in his lower body, I thought, started to leave him and some of that agility. But the run blocking and overall, he still has some great pass protection reps for sure. So he's not a bad tackle at all. I just thought there were probably 10 better in the big 2025.
I think that's fair. But speaking of Jordan Mailata, Matthew, he is next on our consensus top 10 list. I actually ranked him at number 2. I think if there's anyone who is like a freakier athlete than Trent Williams, it's Mailata. That guy,
Yeah.
I mean, he's a former rugby player, so like not shocking, but like, what is he, like 6'7", 330 or so? Like he's just
He's
like
like 6'7", 360.
he's like he's an enormous human being, right? And for him to move is with such an insane level of fluidness that he does, an insane level of smoothness that he does, and he's like got this insanely powerful punch in the run game. I mean, I think it is probably consensus from like I know I saw PFF ranked him as like the best run blocker in the NFL, and I don't think that's like a far stretch by any means.
He's crazy.
He's an insane run blocker, and I think that's reason enough to be like, yeah, if we're talking about like one of the best run blockers, if not the best in football, and like, yeah, he got demolished by Wirfs that one time, but like he's got like a great first step in pass pro as well, and he's got this great reach because of his size. So I just think it's hard to find a tackle that I would rather have than Mailata right now.
Not many. I think if anything here at 5 is like the very, very floor of where I think he should be
6,
personally.
but yeah.
Oh, no, he's at 6. I absolutely agree. His power is completely unbelievable. Obviously, like he can move well, and his size is good in the sense that like it gives him an advantage in the strength game. But like he's also just big in the sense that he gets in the way of dudes. I mean, he really like is like the sun being blocked out by the moon for some of these guys. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. His punch is really incredible, but like he doesn't seem to really lose all that much from his height. I think he does a fine job staying low. I think his sets are good. And his pressure numbers that he allowed are very good as well. I think he was charted with like 20, and his island rate is also second in the NFL, only behind Lane Johnson. I think he plays a very legit brand of ball. I saw that PFF graphic too. I don't know what their reasoning was, but having him at 1 is not like totally insane to me. I get where they're coming from, where it's like if this guy can be really technically sound and an athletic freak, can be strong enough and big enough to, you know, be at the absolute top and like a weapon in the run game that not many other people can deal with, and can move out well enough to get to the second level, like, yeah, it's hard to beat that skill set.
It's hard, man. It's really tough. Yeah, I saw he had 14 pressures allowed, which was 4th.
Right. He's very good one way or the other.
Yeah, definitely very good. Crazy athletic, crazy powerful. I do think he can be a little bit fast and loose with his technique, and I think that showed up in the Wirfs play where he's just not quite landing his punch first or keeping his hands a little bit wide. And he's so
I thought he was a little far back on his heels. That first. So,
and most people aren't really big enough to take advantage of any of technical flaws that he may still have, but you see it pop up occasionally. Maybe I think Wirfs and Johnson are 2 guys who are better. Like I didn't agree with PFF putting him at number 1, but and Sewell probably. But really just those 2. I think Johnson. I'm giving away my personal top 2.
yeah.
But then after those 2, I think you can put down Mailata. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, before we get into number 5, I have to give one more shout out to, a recent friend of the show, Cash App, because, we talk about all these great offensive tackles, but, we have to talk about what's so terrible is trying to send money to someone, and it takes 3 days to actually move it, whether you're trying to split the dinner tab or like you go see a movie, you buy someone's ticket, Like, you don't want the money to just be sitting in limbo for 2 days. Like, you could have mailed them the check. That's why you got to switch to Cash App, because I know we have, and we definitely have not looked back. It's fast, it's easy, and it just works. Like, you sign up with your phone number, you don't even need a bank account to get started. And when you send the money, boom, it just shows up instantly. None of that processing delay BS. Plus, Cash App actually looks out for you. So if you're going to send someone money and it might be a sketchy account, it gives you a heads up like, hey, this might not be someone you want to send money to. That peace of mind alone is worth it. And I got to say, I love how you can add custom messages, emojis, even, fun little backgrounds when you pay someone. You could send someone like a stay hot something. You send someone Huel Jinkley when you give them money. Make splitting brunch or drinks way less awkward and way more fun. So if you're out here still using some slow, clunky app to pay people, what are you doing? Download Cash App today. And here's the kicker. If you're a new user, you can use the code STAYHOT. It's all one word. Send just $5 to a friend within the first 14 days, and Cash App will drop $10 right into your account. No catch, just money. That's Cash App for you. Hit the link in our description to download it now. Hashtag Cash App hot. Hashtag stay hot. Hashtag he's the Jordan Mailata of payment apps, some are saying. But at number 5 on our top 10 offensive tackle rankings, we have Dion Dawkins.
Wow. That's really high. I don't hate it. I think I had Dawkins at 6 or 7, so I'm not mad at that.
I think what happens here, right, is because, like, you had Tunsil and Theo had Brown, and so, like, because those guys don't make it on the list, like, even though none of us had Dawkins in the top 5, it's someone that we all had on the list. And so, like, that natural.
Mr. Ash had him.
I had him at 5.
I'm looking at the list right now.
Oh, did you have him at 5? Okay. Yeah, you did have him at 5. Shout out.
I'm fired up.
He is fired up. He loves Dion Dawkins. I feel like you've always been a Dion Dawkins guy. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I don't know. I don't know if I've been a Dion Dawkins guy more than anybody else, but like watching him to prep for this, like he's definitely the most fun. I should be more of a Dion Dawkins guy than I am. The meet B gap man when he lines up like 5 yards off the left guard. Like it's hilarious. It forces the 9 tech to widen to some insane degree. And then his technique is just different. Like I don't think anybody tries to hit the amount of moves that Dion Dawkins tries to hit. Like you're lucky to get a hand on him if you're a defensive player. Like as soon as you try anything on him, you extend your hand to begin your move. Like he's knocking that stuff to the side, he's knocking it down, he's forklifting it up. Like whatever you need, he'll do it to you. So he is somebody who is like Neo from the Matrix with his hand fighting. He's just an absolute
Mr. Anderson in this situation, Theo.
Mr. Anderson is
or not. No, that is Neo. Who's Agent Smith? Who's Smith?
Yeah, you're right. That is Neo. Agent Smith, I guess, is anybody going up against him. It's I don't know if he has a main rival.
We gotta
probably be someone in the division.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who would be lining up across from him multiple times a year.
Jermaine Johnson.
Jermaine Johnson puts a hand in the dirt. Mr. Anderson.
He's also just a bowling ball. Like his build is wild. I don't know if he actually has short arms. I didn't look it up, but it looks like his arms are like 20 inches long. And his body fat percentage, like I don't know if it is high, but it looks high. Like it's just kind of this like roly-poly, like short arm dude playing this weird brand of football. And he's kicking major ass the entire time.
That's how a lot of tackles are, I feel like. You like think like when Joe Thomas retired, he like lost a bunch of weight, now he's jacked. Like
Trent Williams is also built a little bit like this, where he's just like he's got a big like stomach, right? Some guys are really lean and mean. I mean, and some guys have a little bit more of a
lot of those guys are eating like 12 to 15,000 calories a day, man.
I know. Like, I'm not debating any athleticism here. I'm just talking body type. Like Dion Dawkins is like a weird watch is all I'm saying.
Do you think you
he gets the job done.
15,000 calories a day?
15,000 a day, just me chilling. Well, here's the question. do I have to eat 15,000 calories in like the honorable, I'm training to be an offensive lineman, so here's some rice and chicken way? Or is it we just need to get to the number? Because if I just need to get to the number, I can do it on soda pop alone. I'm having 15 soda. I'm having 60 sodas and I'm calling it, man. No, I can't do soda.
Do I get unlimited money to do this? Because I couldn't afford
I can't afford 15,000
50,000 calories worth of food a day.
Sure,
I don't think I could.
I'm trying to. There was a JJ Watt 9,000 calorie diet.
Yeah, but that was all like eggs and you have like 10 eggs in the morning or something.
I'm going to read this to you. This was JJ Watt's 9,000 calorie diet. For breakfast, it was oatmeal with blueberries and strawberries, 6 eggs, a banana and an apple. Second breakfast, 4 eggs, 2 slices of wheat toast with peanut butter and banana and honey, and then 2 slices of wheat toast with jelly. For lunch, 3 chicken breasts with whole wheat pasta and Italian dressing with a side of broccoli. Second lunch was more chicken breasts with mashed potatoes and steamed carrots. Dinner, lamb chops with whole wheat pasta with grilled asparagus. And second dinner, filet with a whole wheat pasta and steamed broccoli. Could you eat all of that in a day?
I think so.
Second lunch. I could eat all that in one day, maybe, but not like every. Well, man.
Yeah, I would have to start training to be. You'd have to go out and get more exercise just off the basis of you'd have to burn some of that off. I think. At 15,000, even if it was like I'm having as many cookies and candies as I want, would be cool until second lunch of M&Ms, and then it would become bleak.
Then it's like, oh, I have to keep eating. It would be tough.
Regardless, with Dawkins. I love his power. I think it's so important because the reason why the Bills have become one of these like multi-dimensional, like can really get at you in both ways offenses because the power of the offensive line. Obviously, that's not just Dawkins, but it's a lot of Dawkins. And I think he puts more pass rushers in the dirt than just about anybody specifically. The amount of guys he traps is crazy. So I think there's some real like cool stuff that he does, I guess. I don't know if his pressure numbers really stand out from these guys, but I definitely think stylistically he's one of the coolest guys here, and he doesn't get quite enough credit considering how important he is to Buffalo.
Yeah, he just widens the pocket so much because he starts wide and then he traps the guy. So like they're on their belly and he's on top of them and they're like 10 yards away from Josh Allen. Like that's just so much space for a quarterback like that to work with. It's super valuable. And he's so used to playing like in the middle of nowhere, like no man's land on his pass sets. Then when he's out connecting with linebackers at the second level, that's like his forte, right? Like he's always hitting a target that's moving in space. So he's a really good run blocker as well. And yeah, he's got major power to just bulldoze you off the line of scrimmage too when it is more of a close quarters situation.
I swear that we used to be able to look up like pancake stats.
I think that's just on Madden.
Is it? I don't know, man. I swear that used to be a thing, but I can't find it.
What I'm talking about isn't even really a pancake. It's actually him pushing guys down so they fall forward, right? Not that he doesn't pancake guys, but
I think that still counts. But it's knocking their hand down as they're like braced on him. And then once that brace gets broken, they fall flat on their face. And then he like Wario celebration, like belly flop. Warriors super strikers type of vibe. Yeah, Dawkins is
first
sweet.
Of all, sluggers was better than strikers. Real ball games.
They're both awesome. Like that's like trying to pick a favorite kid.
That's fair. At number 4, Rashawn Slater, the other of the Chargers' top 10 offensive tackles. We already talked about Joel earlier. So bringing up Slater now.
Yeah. Also passed the Myles Garrett test this past season. Had some one-on-one reps with him that he did well.
Test.
He is just really He's not as interesting, I think, to talk about as Dawkins with his like technique.
Yeah, but he's very smooth.
But he's so
I think
smooth.
it's different stylistically. That smoothness stuck out to me, and then he had a couple of like really great forklifts where he's able to go from super low to high, and he gets that huge bend in his back. I don't know how those guys do not screw themselves up doing that, but it's great for dealing with with bull rushes. And he had some moments where I'm like, dang, that's about as good as anybody can do it. It looked really textbook.
Yeah, he has that like accordion back, right, where it just is bending in weird ways. And yeah, he can really drop his weight and play on just the insides of his feet, right? Like, think about like where your big toe is and draw a line from that to your heel. Like, you can just kind of play on that line, and the other half of your foot is just like straight up in the air. It's really digging into the ground, and he can get in that position with like both of his feet. He can bend his knees so his knee is like an inch off the turf. And in that kind of staggered, bent position, he's like bending his back and he's looking up at people. He can get to that spot and just become, like a blocking sled that is fighting back, right? Like, just not someone that you can really move around very easily. And yeah, just the smoothness. He had a game against Nick Benito this year that I watched, and Benito was trying to get up the arc against him, and it was just terrible. Like, every single time Slater would just flip his hips smooth as can be and escort him 10 yards upfield. Like, it was ridiculous. It did not work one time for Benito, who's really one of the better like get off and bend rushers in the league. And nothing on Slater. They tried it on Alt. It almost worked. He tried to spin inside, but then Alt did his redirect thing. So didn't really work on either of them. But yeah, Slater, super consistent, explosive in the run game, can reach you, flip his hips, turn you away. Yeah, just a picture of consistency, really.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that brings us into the top three. Consensus number 3 is Penei Sewell, the remaining shining light on this Detroit Lions offensive line. And they're going to need him because, with like we talked about earlier with Ragnow, him leaving is going to could be devastating for this offense, and particularly in their run game. But why should they still have hope with Sewell is the real question.
Sewell might be taking over Trent Williams as the best run blocking offensive lineman or offensive tackle in the league, because he can kind of do it both ways. He sustains blocks and pushes guys off the screen as much or more than basically anybody else. And while I said earlier, maybe it's easy to overrate that because it looks cool, which I feel like I'm always watching for. Do we overrate guys who make highlight catches rather than route runners? Do we overrate guys who get yards after the catch, breaking tackles, rather than guys who just maneuver their way to not getting touched as much? But there's so many times where it's like, how did that get that wide open for Detroit? And then they run the replay back, and it's because Sewell pushed his guy 5 yards off of his spot instead of, sealing him off and creating a 1 yard lane where you're like, okay, the answer to the could I get a yard in the NFL question might be yes if I'm behind that guy. Additionally, though, he is incredibly good moving in space. He's somebody who they can get out and either run behind, or who can reach the second level and stop, a linebacker from being able to like compete in a play entirely if he's on the other side. So even when you're not running with him, a lot of the times it just makes life so easy on Gibbs or Montgomery or whatever because of what he's able to get to. So that combination, when I feel like the strength to sustain blocks and the speed to reach blocks aren't necessarily opposed, but one you'd rather be lighter for and one you'd rather be heavy for, the fact that he's the ultimate top tier in both, I think probably does make him the best run blocker in the league now. But Williams has had his great tape very recently as well. The reason why he's at 3 when I think he's somebody who is in the number 1 conversation does have to do with the fact that like his pass protection difficulty is not as high as like a Lane Johnson or Wirfs, who is the other guy in this top three, I'm assuming. His island rate isn't nearly as high. He does get a decent amount of help, and his pressure numbers, I don't believe, are quite as good as those two guys. Actually, I think from what I had written down, it was like 13 for Wirfs, 14 for Johnson, albeit in 2 more games, and then 26 for Sewell. And
substantial.
And Johnson is number 1 in island rate, and Wirfs, I think, was like top 5 or something. So to me, that does put him just a hair behind, but I hope it doesn't come off as an insult, because he's kind of like, I think, the most popular tackle. Definitely. I don't know if that's...
He's definitely the biggest star. Tackle.
And for good reason, because what he does is sick. So...
yeah, I think
if we were ranking tackles by popularity, it would be Sewell 1 and probably Mailata 2. And then maybe Trent Williams 3 would be my guess.
I think it'd be Trent too, and then after that it might be Lane Johnson coming back around, but I don't know.
You think? I don't know. I do need to say something.
Mm-hmm.
The rankings are slightly wrong.
Oh boy.
Matthew Sponauer misspelled Mailata's last name.
Oh,
and so Mailata was missing a 3rd place vote. He is actually our consensus tackle 4, not our consensus tackle 6.
So he's ahead of Slater, and he's ahead of Dawkins.
Yes.
Good to know. Good to know,
man.
It's all right.
We don't forgive you, but
a comeback. Here's how Mailata can still win. But yeah, Sewell is the most popular, and I think it has to do with how his blocks are so often worth like highlighting on broadcasts. Like in the run game, he will be so far downfield making connections, or he'll make such a crazy play in space where there's really no choice but to say, like, look at what Sewell did here. The tight end captured the edge. He pulled around right on pin pull, and he murdered the corner so bad that, like, obviously we're going to have to show it on replay, like, and then Gibbs scored a 70-yard touchdown. Like, he just has more of those moments, or the Lions will throw him a ball or something like that. Like, they actually feature him in such a creative way as a run blocker that he gets a lot of deserved shine. But yeah, his pass protection isn't quite as good as the others, like Wirfs, for example. His career, like, blown block rate in pass protection, according to Sports Info Solutions, is 1.4%. And Sewell was at 4.2 last year. His career number is 3.4. So he's not quite as consistent as Johnson or Wirfs in the pass protection game. And that's with more help than what those guys are getting for his guard because of Ragnow, which we highlighted earlier.
So we might as well get into the top 2, right? We know it's Tristan Wirfs and Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson was unanimous consensus offensive tackle 1 by all 3 of us. Shout out the island rate and everything we all know about.
Where did you find that? I didn't know. He had that posted on his locker when he missed out on All-Pro. He's like, my island rate is number 1, and Sewell's is like number 30 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I asked him at the Super Bowl where he got that stat, and he said, I don't know. I just saw it like on Twitter. And I'd never looked for it. I mean, it checked out like watching the film, so I'm sure it's real. But I thought it was funny that he just was like, yeah, I saw that.
I think because I was looking for it because I saw Lane Johnson post that thing. I'm like, that's a great stat. I couldn't find like the list, but one of the PFF guys, and which one it is, I don't remember, and I apologize, but one of them posted a graph after the season of everybody's island rate. And I couldn't figure out, like, a couple of them, the logos are a little bit misaligned. So like when I say Trent Wirfs is top 5, he might be 4. I'm not 100% sure.
Be 8.
I was like, all right, that'll do it.
It's somewhere in the top right-hand corner where you want them to be.
But let's talk about Wirfs before we get into Lane Johnson fully.
Wirfs has the best build of any of the tackles. He's all legs. You could tell when he came out of Iowa, you're like, well, this guy's going to be sick.
Remember
This
when
guy's
he
going to be
jumped
awesome.
out of a pool?
He jumped out of a pool. It's because he's like all legs. He jumped out of a pool. He ran like a 4.85. Not that the 40 times matter, but like this guy's been a beast since day one. And I don't know, he might have the most powerful punch in the sense that like when he's getting his hands on dude, some guys like there's multiple styles to it. There's some guys like Alt who do more of the, because Joe Thomas is the guy where it's like you actually want to just like place your hands firmly rather than like really punch. And then some guys just punch instead.
Yeah.
Wirfs is one of the guys who punches. And when you watch a cut up of him, there's a lot where it's like he's giving edge rushers whiplash. You know, it's a different level. And I think so many of them, like, you know, if you're not one of the top alpha dudes, if you're not the Myles Garretts of the world and you're like 245 or 250 and you're sort of like, well, I've got this one way, and like that's not going to cut it, dude, not against Wirfs. He's obviously super fluid as well, and again 13 pressures or whatever he was listed at is crazy. He's been awesome and super consistent since day one, which consistency is a big deal here because everybody can have great games, everybody can go toe to toe on this list with the best of the best, but how often are you doing it? You know, like Will Campbell said, you can give up 1 sack a game. That's 12 sacks. You're working at McDonald's. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
being a tackle is maybe better.
Being a tackle is maybe better.
Sorry, Mick workers, but NFL tackles are probably more desirable.
Flip burgers or flip people? It's the real question.
Would you rather get paid?
It's largely, I'd be fine working at McDonald's for $20 million, like Tristan Wirfs is working for the Buccaneers. Yeah.
No, yeah, they don't win the Super Bowl with him back in his second season. I think that was like he was elite then. He's been elite since he walked into the league, right? And he has the best build. He has long legs, and if you measured the circumference of every limb, I think it would be like the biggest of all the tackles, like the circumference of his forearm, the circumference of his bicep, the width of his shoulders and his like torso and his belly and like his hamstrings and thighs. Like he's just huge, like in all aspects. Like power hits him and it has no effect on him whatsoever. He probably just smiles and then loops in his punch and he just rips you from your rush path. Like it's crazy. And he's so fluid in his lower body. Like he will do the fake like jump set things that like was getting talked about a lot this draft cycle with Marcus Bowe. Like Marcus Bowe would jump out at somebody like he was going to get hands on them quickly. They'd prepare for that, and then Bowe would jump back, and then they'd be kind of off balance, and then he'd engage, right? But Bowe was so undersized, he got drafted in the 5th round despite this. And, you know, maybe he should be a fullback. Like he's like 290 or something like that. Wirfs is the biggest guy in the league, and he's got the same thing in his bag. Like he's a freak, man. He's an absolute freak. The springiness into his stance is unbelievable. His springiness redirecting is unbelievable. Like he's got so much confidence in his technique. He's just an absolute killer. He might be number one. Like he really might be.
I thought about it.
Yeah, I thought about it too.
You thought about it over Lane?
Lane. Politics put Lane at 1. He's too old.
And that's why he's going to win Protector of the Year.
That's why he'll win Protector of the Year.
Also because he's the best pass blocker in football. And it's called Protector of the Year, so he's going to win the award.
Look, he's ridiculous too. I mean, when I was talking about Protector of the Year, I highlighted a play where like not only does he never get help, right? He never gets slide help. Him and Becton were living in their own worlds. But there was a play in the Super Bowl where Lane had George Karlaftis, but before he went out and got Karlaftis, he shoved Chris Jones with his left hand. So he gave a shove and then was late getting into his set, and he still got Karlaftis. Like how is he still the most athletic tackle out here when it comes to getting like vertical depth and changing direction? And he's got such long arms, and he wastes no time. He just wants to get hands on you as quick as possible. And with that in mind, like you just can't really get anywhere near Hurts with his coverage because he just is on you instantly off the line of scrimmage. You've got no chance to build up speed to get speed to power on him. Like you're just done like immediately. It's just over as soon as the rep starts. It's unfair. It's unfair.
I mean, when you look at the Super Bowl, it's like the Chiefs are no like slump of a defense. They've got good pass rushers on the edge. They've obviously got Chris.
Yeah, Karlaftis is a good player.
Yeah, Karlaftis,
he doesn't have a prayer.
And they've got Spags, who's like one of the best like blitz designers in football. And and this is why I'm like, yeah, the Eagles have the two best tackles in football because they go up against this great defense with great defensive linemen, great linebackers, and a great blitz like technician, and they get nothing done. They can't stop. I mean, they did actually stop the run because they really geared in on Saquon, but like,
yeah.
But then they just got crushed through the air because they couldn't get any pressure on Hurts.
Yeah, I agree. I just think he's also one of the wisest in terms of like, obviously he's just played a lot of football, so sending stunts at him is not going to be successful. Or it's tough to, if you view like tackle play versus edge play as like a chess match sometimes, which like it's not entirely, but you can see how like you throw one thing out and then you counter it with another later in the game and whatnot. It's tough to be a step ahead of Lane more than anything, and that's why he's giving up, again, 14 pressures in 19 games when with the highest island rate in the league is hilarious. It's one of one. And that movement skill, that fluidity, it translates to the run game a lot too. So I think him at one. There's a couple of other guys who I actually think you can consider, but I do think he's the best, and it's an ultimate respect move to put the 36-year-old up here at the very top, which we're big on. So that's what it's going to be.
We respect the elders, except for Trent Williams and me. No, I do respect him. He's just too old. He's gotten to the point where he's too old for respect. I'm ageist.
You are. We've been known that though, Can I run a tweet by you guys before we get out of here? The tweet that I'm gonna send out tomorrow morning.
Sure.
Ahead of the NBA Finals. Spawn hour, golden hour, hot shower, foul bait, running late, separation of church and state, FanDuel, stay in school, swim in a pool, stay hot, fill up a pot, sleep on a cot, Theo Ash, Kid Flash, someone get me a sash that says Paces in 5.
I like it. I like that tweet.
They say sometimes less is more, and I don't agree. More is more.
More is more. Well, it's like I put Spawn Hour down for the first one. I'm like, well, I got to fit Theo in there. And then I was like, well, I might as well just put Stay Hot.
I'd be very offended. You might as well put FanDuel in there.
And I was like, I might as well put FanDuel in there. And then I was like... Well, and then I was like, well, then I got to throw the foul bait thing in there for SGA, because everyone...
I can see how this happens.
So that's going to be the one NBA Finals talk you get from me.
Okay, you're getting a banger off.
I'm going to try
crazy,
to get a banger off. The kid's going crazy.
We're used to it.
Thanks, man. But I'll run through the top 10 list. I almost was just going to get out, but honorable mentions are Spencer Brown, not Orlando Brown, Spencer Brown, Laramie Tunsil, top 10. At number 10, we have Andrew Thomas. Number 9, Joe Alt. Number 8, Christian Darrisaw. Number 7, Trent Williams. Number 6, Dion Dawkins. Number 5, Rashawn Slater. Number 4, Jordan Mailata. Number 3, Penei Sewell. Number 2, Tristan Wirfs. And number 1, Lane Johnson. The top 10 offensive tackles in the NFL. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of Stay Hot. And as always, from Corn Boy, Bird Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you on the flippity flop.